Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professional, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hi, I am Justin Daniels. I am a shareholder and corporate M&A and tech transaction lawyer at the law firm Baker Donaldson, advising companies in the deployment and scaling of technology. Since data is critical to every transaction, I help clients make informed business decisions while managing data privacy and cybersecurity risk, and when needed, I lead the legal cyber data breach response brigade.
And this episode is brought to you by No One Can Hear You Tap My Headband.
Okay.
Red Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Bite at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. So we are recording on Halloween today. And when we scheduled this, some people said that they might bring their cool pirate hat. And I'm the only one here with a Halloween headband.
I guess you're a lot cooler than I am.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. So I think everyone, if you're listening, you should go check out the YouTube. Though I guess if you see this on LinkedIn, you'll find my little witch hat. I started off with Mickey ears, but then I had to give those to the high schooler. And you have nothing. Zippity-doo-dah.
I left my pirate hat downstairs.
Okay, well, we know where your fun meter is. All right, let's get started.
Your fun meter is. That was actually funny.
That's true.
I'm impressed.
I have that I am cool and I'm funny, and everyone can listen and hear that.
Well, let's get focused on our guest. So today we have Khurram Chhipa, the General Counsel of Halborn, which is a leading cybersecurity company in the Web3 space. With expertise spanning blockchain, security, compliance, and digital risk management. Oh, he sounds like someone else I know. He brings a unique perspective to the intersection of law and technology. Outside of work, Khurram enjoys spending time with family and friends. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we always like to start with how people got to where they are. So if you can share your career journey to now, that would be great.
Absolutely. So I started out at a law firm, worked there for a little bit, and then I navigated the financial services space, worked there for a number of years. And then I decided I wanted to do work that was more meaningful. I worked at large firms and enterprise institutions, and I had an opportunity to join a startup, which is my last role. And I thought it would be an opportunity to, just work for a smaller team and provide more meaningful contributions. I did that. Decided to jump in the wonderful world of crypto. Did that for a few years, and then I landed at my role at Halborn, where I wanted to stay in crypto, but I wanted to explore a different area. And cybersecurity, as you guys know, is a very rapidly evolving and critical space. So, love making the move. I had the opportunity to join Halborn, which is a leading cybersecurity company, and here I am today, 8 months in. It's going great. Very busy, but busy is good this time of the year. So, yeah, that's how I've ended up at Halborn.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing.
So as you alluded to, Halborn operates at the intersection of cybersecurity and blockchain, two of the fastest moving fields in tech. How is AI changing the way blockchain companies think about security risks and threat detection?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think before AI, we saw this AI boom. Threat detection was more static. You would identify an issue and then you would work to resolve it. I think what AI is doing is allowing us companies like Halborn to being able to identify sooner the threats that we are facing. A lot of companies in AI using predictive modeling. I think what that does, that has shifted the threat detection from static to adaptive solutions that we're pursuing. So I think, AI allows us to do things a lot faster. It allows us to predict. It almost reminds me of Minority Report, where you're able to see things happen before they actually occur, right? So not that advanced yet, but AI gives us the opportunity to predict, just based on the threats today, where the threats may evolve to. So it's exciting. It's also it's changed the game, I would say, like considerably. I think it allows, the threats have evolved, but also cybersecurity solutions are evolving with those threats as well.
Your background reminds me of Minority Report. It just, I don't know, there's something
Yes.
about it that kind of feels Minority Report-ish. Esque.
You actually saw that movie?
I did actually.
It was a good
Really?
movie.
I can't quote anything. I'm not a movie quoter,
Mm,
but I do actually see some
okay.
of them.
It's good to know.
Mhm. So, speaking about AI models are being used for a lot of different ways. Some of them include audits and generating smart contracts. So, how do you see AI changing the risk profile for blockchain applications?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, these AI LLMs, they're very powerful, but from my experience using them, they're still heavily flawed, and I think there is still human oversight that's needed to just keep those checks and balances to make sure they're being used correctly. Like for me, I approach LLMs like I treat it like a junior associate, right? Like I have it help me work on matters that I understand that I can issue spot and find errors, and also like I use a presumption matter I'm familiar with. Because what I'm finding is when I use LLMs, as powerful as they are, like they are still flawed. And for me personally, like I'm very hesitant to use it for subject matters that I don't have a good understanding on. So I think, they're very powerful tools that can be used, but I still think there's a element of human oversight that's needed.
So, can you share a little bit more, maybe if you were to think about advice you would offer to other general counsels or security teams? What are those safeguards that you would say? How should someone take the output and review it? Or are there other safeguards that you think teams should put in place?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think it starts with just updating our playbooks and for finding critical errors. I think developing a process where there's some human oversight involved, whether it's at the beginning of the process or towards the end. I personally think, there should be, at least today, given that LLMs are still evolving, there should be some continuous oversight throughout the process of using these LLMs. But I would start with generating playbooks. And as a general rule of thumb for me, like I think if you can't issue spot, if you can't spot errors, then you shouldn't use it for that subject matter, right? I still think, there's still a significant need to use outside counsel, like Baker Donaldson, for example, for specific subject matter expertise. But I think, it starts with establishing like where to use it for specific use cases, make sure that the person using it um, can issue spot and can spot errors as needed, and then working from there.
So, Justin, what
Mhm.
advice would you offer? I know you talk a lot about this as well.
I have to be honest, my thinking is evolving because one of the things I struggle with AI recently is AI can help you make you more efficient, get the contract reviewed faster, but is it making you better? Because if it doesn't do it right or there isn't a human in the loop, all you've done is make bad decisions faster.
Yep.
So what I've trying to come around to, Carmen, I'd love to hear your view, is my favorite and to me most strategic AI use case that I have right now is I actually use it for negotiation preparation to not only anticipate the other side's arguments, but to frame it in a way that's tailored to the negotiation style of your counterpart, which could be they could have a big ego, they could be very analytical, they could be an empathizer. And the whole point is, how do you then use AI in the context for negotiation to get a better outcome, which is different than just mere efficiency?
I agree. That's excuse me, I'm fighting a cold today. I think that's one like very powerful use case is to help streamline negotiations. I've done that myself as well. I also, a lot of times, companies like Halborn and other crypto companies, you're asked to do very niche, provide very niche output, and I'll use AI to kind of just think through. One example is I'll be asked to create niche templates. I was asked the other day to create a niche template, a very specific use case. So that's another instance where I use an LLM to, kind of type the based on the feedback from the business, how to capture that, and then that just starts the thought process and the flow. So just being able to have, I almost feel like yeah, like I said, as a junior associate, I almost feel like I have conversations with my LLM where it's like, oh, what about this? No, you forgot about that. So for me, it helps kind of get the juices flowing from a thought process standpoint, just to come up with uh, the ideal end product. But I think I agree, Justin. I think for negotiations, it's been very powerful. Sometimes it's good to have that feedback to help get the juices flowing from a thought process standpoint.
Because I guess the other thing to think about is AI, its default coding is it wants to be helpful. So what I feel like sometimes you have to do is you have to be very hard on it. I don't like, don't be my cheerleader. I need critical feedback because it always seems to want to be your friend and be helpful to you when sometimes what you need is sober, detached judgment, especially, for what we do as attorneys. So I was curious as to how that may inform how you interact with the LLM, because sometimes you really don't need a cheerleader. You need someone to really give you that hard-nosed, objective look to see blind spots that maybe you didn't get the first time around.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I had a very, I was at a conference last week for crypto GCs, and I had this conversation with somebody that I just met there, a fellow GC, and his advice was that, based on his experience, that you should be very curt with the LLM. He even recommended swearing in some instances. Just I don't know if I would go that far, but just I think to your point, just I think these LLMs, from my experience, they tend to cater to you and try to. I think they're coded to in a sense please you and like give you the answers that you want to hear. But I think to really get the best use out of these LLMs, you have to challenge it, whether it's by swearing at them or just being very curt and challenging. But I do find from my experience that the more you challenge it, the better it's for us to adapt and provide better responses.
I'd like to see you swear.
That's not right. Or I don't want that. I'm not going to swear.
Really? I've shamed it. I wanted to draft a clause one time, Khurram, about, machine learning and it wouldn't do it. And I said, well, if you won't do it, I'm going to fire you and use another LLM. And it didn't.
I find that very helpful when you threaten to go to another LLM. It's like, using Perplexity. It's like, oh, why don't I just go ChatGPT? And they're like, no, no, wait, I think I got it. You gotta play them off of one another. I think that's the trick.
We're making a joke. It makes a really good point as to how people can work around the coding of LLMs and get it to do things it's programmed that it shouldn't do, which goes to Khurram's other point about it, why it's so important to have a human in the loop to really be able to evaluate critically the information that's being provided, because that's what people can do. I've done it. So anyway,
Now that we've established, don't be nice.
I know we're like going against the golden rule, but it's kind of justified in this circumstances anyway. Why don't we talk a little bit about your views about the AI arms race specific to cybersecurity and what it means for blockchain companies that operate in such a high value, high visibility environment? And the other key thing that people don't appreciate is when you have a cyber attack on a blockchain, it happens so quickly, and there's very few ways to stop the funds or whatever it is going from the smart contract to somewhere else, which makes
Yeah.
defense so important.
Yeah, I think so my personal viewpoint is that it's exciting but also terrifying at the same time. But I think because these bad actors, they are becoming more sophisticated in their approaches to cyber attacks, and we've seen a number happen over this past year alone. I think what it's forcing, though, it's forcing companies like Halborn and other cybersecurity providers to really level up their game and evolve. And also, with respect to AI, I think over time it's going to force us to provide more sophisticated technology. So yes, it's scary that we have these threat actors that are becoming more sophisticated, but I also think it's forcing positive change. It's gonna for I think things tend to be reactionary when it comes to this space. So I think it's a good thing. And I think over time you're gonna see the way we create these protections, the way we advance AI, it's just gonna become more sophisticated, and it's gonna prepare companies like Halborn to better address these threats. So I think it is forcing innovation, and it's forcing advancements in AI on the positive side. Sometimes you need bad to advance the good.
Justin really wants to talk about deep fakes.
I'm gonna let
No, I wouldn't want to take away your favorite
no.
topic. Yeah, no, this is you. Look at me. I am not being an LLM. I'm being really kind. You don't even know what to do with that.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
I
The
wish
Anyway,
I could be
conversation's
kinder. Off you
positive,
go.
so it's happy convo. It's not
oh, give it 5 minutes when I make my next domestic transgression. And anyway, um, as you and I have talked about, and I've written a good bit about this, is the biggest thing right now that scares me from a cyber threat perspective is the deepfake. And I wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts around how companies should be prepared for deepfakes of their CEOs, where the response time will be measured in hours and days, not weeks.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think, before deep fakes became a thing, most companies like Halborn, we have disaster recovery and business continuity plans. And I think now with this threat of deep fakes becoming more common, I think it's going to personally involve updating those playbooks to allow for more rapid responses. I also think it's going to require some element of custom training, just specific to deepfakes, how to spot them, what security measures should be taken to ensure that employees at these companies aren't falling for these deepfakes. I also think it will require implementing more advanced security features and security measures just across the board, just to make sure that there are checks and balances in place when a deepfake threat presents itself.
Do you have any recommended check or balance that you might suggest?
Yeah, I think so one thing we do, we limit communications to a specific forum. What I've seen happen, what I've read about happening with deepfakes is that employees will receive a message through a different forum, a different communication method. I know my last role, some of the phishing spam messages we would get would be over WhatsApp, but our corporate policy was to never use WhatsApp for any communication. So right off the bat, we knew that something was off. There's also an element of being able to I would also recommend trying to create some consistent independent verification method. If you suspect there's a deep fake, using a specific form of communication. We also have our general uh, security measures where we flag things to IT if we become suspicious. So and also I think there's an element of common sense that needs to be made. If my boss is sending me a message asking me to wire $100,000, that should raise a red flag, right? So it's just a matter of being vigilant, always staying on guard, and just trying to use common sense. But I think it starts to just essentially just create a secure framework where that's repeatable, a process that's easy to follow, that's repeatable for all employees, and it'll. I think if you create a robust process, that'll weed out these deep fakes and other threats that we face. I mean, it's so common. I think companies like Halborn, especially companies in the crypto space, you see these messages and these attacks come in time and time again. I know, I think since I've joined the crypto space, I've lost count as to how many spam messages, spam calls I get on a day-to-day basis. Excuse me. But yeah, I think it starts with just creating a robust process that's repeatable, that allows all employees to play a part and be vigilant.
That's very helpful. I guess the thing I would add or maybe get your thoughts on are is I've now been trying to, depending on who the client is, particularly if it's publicly traded, to incorporate some type of deep fake into a tabletop exercise to give the non-cyber folks a real feel for how this works, how easily it can go viral, and how quickly you have to respond. Because whenever I do incident response plans, I don't want to draft a 50-page manual on how to respond to each little thing, because no matter what you come up with, whatever actually happens will not be on your manual, and no one's going to read that when it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I think you do need some specific little playbook for this because there's so much time pressure involved in responding. Like, you need to know, like, what tools are you going to use to authenticate that it's a deep fake to be evidence of your counter narrative as to why it's fake? And, who's going to be involved in creating the crisis calm? It could be at 2 or 4 or 5 in the morning. That's why I'm thinking it's the one time I would depart from I really don't like to have a specific playbook because no one's going to read it when it happens.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think to that point, I think that's where tabletop exercises become critical. I think, you can prepare all you want, you can write the best policies and procedures, but until you've actually gone through it, you won't really be able to spot in real time how to respond properly, where the threats are identified, who plays what role. It's also, I think, another thing to add was just, I think in these scenarios, having a RACI chart or some sort of document that shows who does what in these situations is also important, because the worst thing that could happen is this occurs and then everyone's just scrambling trying to figure things out. I think preparation is critical in this case.
With everything that you know, we always ask, what would be your best personal cyber or privacy tip?
I would say, and I think this comes from one of the Bitcoin mantras, is don't trust but verify. And I think that sums up, this entire conversation where, you want to have some human element, you want to be able to have some human oversight over things. But I think, don't just even if you get a message from somebody somebody you trust, I think it's important to have some sort of process where you can verify the authenticity of the message, and verify that the message itself is authentic as well. So, yes, don't trust, verify.
And when you are not managing all things legally and cybersecurity and AI, I'm making up new words. What do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, I love spending time with my family. I have two young boys, 9 and 4, so they keep me busy. Try to stay in shape. I try to exercise on a regular basis. I play basketball, and I spend time with my friends as well. I think, having kids, being in such a high octane industry, it's important to, have some downtime and enjoy the little things. So whatever I can do with my kids, whenever I can spend time with them and my wife as well, that's time I value the most.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If people would like to connect and learn more, where should they go?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can reach me there. I'm also can email me at my Halborn email address. My first name, Khurram.Chhipa@halborn.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun. I appreciate it. I love what you guys do, and it was great. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Of course, it will have happened afterwards, but that's not the point. We hope you had a great Halloween.
Same to you.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.